Episode is sponsored by Phrase Flowers, a Western New York family-run flower farm and floral preservationist. They offer unique pressed flowers in the shape of buffaloes, in prints, in different sizes, and in handmade wooden frames. Be on the lookout for bills, sabers, and bandits-colored buffaloes coming soon.
You can get a hold of them on their website at phraseflowers.com. That's Frase flowers.com. Or check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Bring more joy and color into your life at Phrase Flowers.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil, episode 362. I don't know how this is going to work on audio, but I have this tiny little box fan next to me, Phil. It's bladeless. It's blowing 120-degree heat at me, but it's some sort of circulation of air up here. They don't make box window units for AC small enough to fit the windows that are up here. I looked into those little things that you put like ice into, but I figure that would just spread mist everywhere, and I don't want that. It's just I'm working on things. We'll see how this goes. If this works perfect and you can't hear it, then I'll work onto the bigger box fan that's behind me. But I need to figure. I know the last 2-3 days have been abnormally hot, and we're a house that just has window AC units right now. We went away from the big boxed outside AC because this house didn't have it. But yeah, I'm not loving the no AC life. I'm not built for it. I'm a sweaty guy. It's not fun.
Yeah, I don't know what you'd have to do. I know there's those. It's not going to help, but there's the skinnier window ones for smaller windows that are just like three blades, but they just like either blow hot air out or blow cold air in, but right now there is no cold air to blow in, so it's just trying to suck the hot air out, but that's not going to happen in that room, so yeah, that's not it. I can't hear your bladeless fan, so
I might end up getting one of those like big boxed one that just has the tube that goes out the window.
Yeah,
that might be the next
ones.
solution.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those ones that I have to shut off during recording. But if I can run it for a few hours before recording, then it's not 9 million degrees up here. Like I'm literally sweating, and
it's not even July. So
yeah, it's gonna be a bad one out here. But I'm gonna actually do the intro this time. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. You can count how red and how many streams of sweat go down my head during the episode. It's so hot up here. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. You should check that out on YouTube, I should say. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. While there, you can hit the shop tab at the top of the website, or you can go to our social media sites, which are already listed, and click on the link tree. It'll take you to our store. You can represent the BSC on the go. We don't make it very difficult to find the store. Shop away. I believe, I haven't checked with you, but I believe our contestants, the overall winner, and our random selector, we ordered the stuff early June, I believe it was. Hopefully it's out to them. I haven't checked to see if it actually got delivered. I don't even know if you get.
I think I got the messages that it was delivered.
Oh, so. Perfect. Hopefully you'll love your stuff. We contacted them a while ago, got it done. I finally got that monkey off my back. And then look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. I will actually put them in this time. But as we started the last episode, we're going to continue it into this one. Week review for the BSC boys. Phil, how was your week without recording until just now?
It was good. I had the usual work week. That went all right. And this is the first weekend I haven't really had anything to do, which was fantastic. Did the normal adult things of laundry and clean the house and went grocery shopping, but this is the first time in a very long time that I've not had a weekend plan. And as great as weekend plans are, they're also exhausting. So it was nice to not have anything planned. Did most of the house chores on Saturday, and then got to Sunday. We're like, well, what do we do now? I don't know what to do. We did end up, I think I sent the picture to you as well. the rain barrel. We finally got that all set up. We bought some little attachment on Amazon that goes into the downspout. So we had to cut a chunk of the downspout out, and then that goes into it, and then a tube runs off of that straight into the rain barrel. So that's exciting. It's obviously been 90 and sunny, so it's not doing anything right now, but it is set up for when it can do something finally. We got that, I don't know what, May maybe we picked those up. I don't remember when
it was
the actual pickup was. It was a while ago. So it was nice to finally get out there and set that up, and I think that's mainly it. We did some not planned whatsoever, I guess, we stargazing-ish. We sat on our front porch the other night when I think it was Saturday night. It was extremely nice outside. The wind was cool. It was like a warm breeze, but kind of cool at night. And our neighborhood was dead silent, and we just sat on the front porch. And at first we were just kind of chilling, and then we just looked up, and then we were calling out different clouds that were passing by in different formations, and there were some fun ones. We had a Death Eater skull, so that's worrisome. And at the same time, there was a heart. I don't know what that means. I don't know. So hopefully something tells us what that is supposed to mean at some point. But yeah, it's pretty chill.
Will kill
pretty chill.
You.
It could be. It could be.
My only question to you with the rain barrel, and I got a message from somebody a little bit ago that they put theirs in. Did you elevate it off the ground at all?
Yes.
Okay. Because they didn't elevate it off the ground, and they were getting very poor pressure, I guess that you would call it, out of the rain barrel, because it's just level with the ground. So the higher up you get it, the better flow you get. So I did make a mental note to do that. For work, I drove to Albany and back, dropped off some equipment to get inspected, and then that was last Wednesday. So when you were listening to this, I was driving to Albany and back. It was a really bad rainstorm in Rochester that flooded out the highway, and nobody could get to exit 47. I drove through that, not the swamp, but I got through before it started flooding, like an hour before that, and I got home and I just looked at the thing and I was like, see, Brooke, I was telling you, it was really bad. So did that. Finished
Did you
digging.
deliver
I delivered everything.
Did you deliver their grade, though? On your way in, did you give the town hall their Albany Firewolves grade?
I should have. I should have dropped it off while I was out there. I finished digging all the holes for the second half of the fence. Got the poles in the ground on Monday. And then as you're listening to this on Wednesday, we're going to be putting up the fence and the boards across it. So we'll be able to open up the entire back fence. And then I'm just down to the gates. That'll be all. I got current temporary gates set up right now. It's the old black gate that used to be in my driveway, but temporary. We'll get the gates on at some point. I just wanted to get the actual fence up.
Pretty quick turnaround.
Pretty quick. And then my grandma's 90th birthday was on Saturday, so went and hung out with the whole family at that point. Saw some cousins I haven't seen in a while.
Clapping sound effect.
Yeah, hang on. Let me pull this up. It's going to be real loud, and I don't really want to do this, but there it is! Okay, we'll pause it.
Happy 90th really birthday!
So, that I didn't do a ton. Monday and Tuesday, when I was working on the after post stuff, I was limiting my time outside because, my God, this heat is unbearable. But yeah, that was my week in review. We both had sort of boring weeks, but productive weeks, I guess.
Yeah, and that's what you're always going. Our garden is surprisingly loving the sun and heat. We've been watering it every night because of the heat, but I don't think I've seen it happier than when it's been blasting this. I was like, oh, it's gonna die, and no, everything's just thriving in this horrible to me temperature. So good for the garden. They're doing it.
So that was our week review. If you hate it, you can skip around because the timestamp will be right here. What wasn't boring was the NLL making news, and once again in the offseason, anytime the NLL makes news the last two off seasons, it's never good. Rochester will not be having Pegula as their owner as of June 30th. Rumors have been out for the past few years that they are for sale. A lot of people doubted it. A lot of people are saying this isn't actually true, but it is. And personally, I worry, and I think a lot of other people do, I worry about the long-term future and even the short-term future of the Knighthawks. If Pegula was unable to find a buyer, I'm not really sure who the league can find, unless that opens up more avenues that Rochester. I don't know how the whole framework works. Does Pegula just like relinquish it back to the league, and if the league finds a buyer, Pegula gets no money from it as of June 30th? I don't know all the inner workings of that, but I'm just more worried if and I know that Brett Fruit has said in the past that he has been on the lookout and he's had meetings with potential owners moving forward. Would that draw interest if Rochester comes open, which it sounds like it's going to? Would a potential owner see that team, see the success they've had pre-COVID? And I'm not even knocking Pegula. He stepped up in a time when Rochester was going to lose their team. They stepped up, they took over, and it was a well-known, it was the worst kept secret in NLL that they wanted out of Rochester. It will be interesting to see if they can push forward with a new ownership group, and if any of those owners that Brett Fruit, or potential owners that Brett Fruit has been talking to in the last couple of years, want to step up. And if that does happen, what does that mean for the players that are more local, like the Fields, the Gilray, the Lanchbury, Reese, and Tutton, all who are under contract? Especially Connor Fields needs to be working in the area because that's where his job is. Plenty of other great players are out there. UFAs, they've got tons of them, but I don't really want to talk about the dispersal draft. But if we did, and it kind of looked like it did, actually, before we even dive into that, I guess, what are your feelings towards Rochester potentially and possibly no longer being in the league and another straight offseason of a possible dispersal draft?
Yeah, I think it's horrible for the league, obviously. Yeah. I don't think that is a hidden secret. I think it's really bad. Like you said, Rochester has been rumored to be trying to be sold for the last couple of years. Pegula did not really want to be a second owner. He stepped in when they needed a buyer to keep them in the league, keep what they're doing. But outside of that, he wanted out of it. And, I mean, clearly, like you said, they couldn't find a buyer themselves. And it would be weird to me if Pegula didn't have the same... Like you said, I don't know. It'd be weird to me if they didn't have the same avenues that the league has for trying to find an owner, because it's in the best interest, obviously, of the league to find this team an owner. So it'd be weird to me that whoever Fruit has as potential owners, he wouldn't be talking to them saying, hey, Rochester's for sale from the owner, but you'd think that there'd be some kind of collaboration there to get this team a new owner.
Which I'm sure there was, yeah.
Right, and if they couldn't do it, like you said, obviously that doesn't look good, and they couldn't do it for Panther City either. And I know in talking about that, he said, you know, we were close on a few, but it was a little bit rushed and everything. This obviously wasn't rushed for the last couple of years, and you still can't find someone. So if they lose a team again officially, I think that's a horrible look for this league. You continue to talk about, you know, not wanting to expand, which I agree with, because there's plenty of teams that are still struggling without expanding, but the lower and lower amount of teams you get, the less and less this league's going to be taken seriously. Not even the next major league, just a league at all. I mean, you can't keep losing teams. And obviously for potential new owners, it doesn't look like the league's growing. It looks like the league's shrinking and not doing a very good job. So is it all on Fruit? No, I'm not trying to say like anything he's doing is directly impacting the sale of Rochester, negative or positive, but the league definitely looks bad from an outsider perspective if this truly goes down and they do lose a team. And I don't know, like, where does the league's future go from there? It's a little suspect. Like, I think you'd have to immediately open up for expansion just to try to get back to 15. I'm not saying 20 or 30 by any means, but there's already too much talent in this league for the teams that are there, and there's plenty of players sitting on the sidelines that can't play because there's not enough teams. And I think they have to try to find a way as quickly as possible to get back to 15, but at the same time, you want those new teams to be solidified and something that's going to stick around for a long time. So, I don't know, it's a very difficult place to be. Absolutely hate the dispersal draft again if it happens, especially because I love, and I know you love, a lot of Rochester's team, so gross, especially for a certain Toronto that is right at the top of all that. I don't want to get into it. Yeah, hopefully they find a owner.
I know you're talking about the expansion, getting back to 15 teams, but if you can't even sell this team, I don't know how you're gonna find two more.
No, I agree. Yep.
Yeah, so I guess I'm hopeful but not optimistic that Rochester, Even if Rochester is moved to a different city, I think that's the best outcome you're hoping for currently.
Yep.
I think the best outcome is they stay in Rochester, but they would have to find a new home, I believe, because I believe that was part of the issue is they're getting kicked out of the arena that they were in. Don't quote me on that, not positive. But, I mean, talking about the dispersal, I was already seeing comments of Connor Fields coming back to Buffalo. It just doesn't seem like it's a good fit. Like,
how many times do we gotta go over this?
Yeah, Josh Burns already there. He's the ball carrier. Connor Fields plays best when he's the number one. No shot at Connor Fields. He just won the MVP in the NLL. He's fantastic, but he's better as the one, not as great as the 2 or 3, and that's what he would be on this team. And he needs the ball in his stick. We've seen that in Rochester. That's when he really blew up. And again, this is no shot at Connor Fields whatsoever. And I know people that are listening to this are big Bandits fans. It's the majority of the listeners that we have. I got bad news for you. If it's the same type of breakdown that it was in the last dispersal draft, Vegas is going to have the number 1 pick. Toronto's going to have the number 2. Philly, Albany follow suit. 3 of those 4 teams fit pretty perfect for what Connor Fields needs, and it's not Vegas. And if I'm Vegas, I'm still taking Connor Fields number 1 because you can get a haul for him. And again, this is all down the line, but we're already seeing people talk about it. And I'm not trying to dig my heels in this already because we're already 20 minutes into the show almost. But I think Connor Fields would fit perfectly in Toronto. They don't have a number 1 lefty besides Mark Matthews, and he's 32, 33, 34 years old on 1-year deal left. Connor Fields would fit perfectly out there. So if I'm Vegas, I'm taking him. I'm trading him Toronto. Philly kind of fits that description as well. We went over them on the last show. They don't really have a ton of forwards left unless they re-sign a bunch of players. Albany kind of makes sense because it's in the general area, but their team's so young. Do you want to disrupt that with adding a Connor Fields? And we'll talk about them in a bit. But, you know, he doesn't make sense to go on the West Coast. He's already wanted to be on the East Coast. That's how when Vegas took him in the expansion draft from Buffalo, he got traded right here to Rochester in that deal. But looking at Buffalo's accounts, I mean, with the amount of players that are amount of teams in front of them, Buffalo would be picking 13th. Again, if this is all the same as it was last year, if the dispersal draft even happens, a lot of things even have to transpire before we even get to that point. But you would be looking at a Pacino, you'd be looking at a Hutchcraft if he falls that far, Ogilvy, a Biles. You're not looking at a player that's going to come in and make a big-time impact unless Buffalo makes a trade up in the dispersal draft, which I just can't see. So any hope that a Connor Fields is coming back to Buffalo if a dispersal draft does happen, I would put it maybe at 2 to 3%. I would not put a high percentage at it. I would put a very high percentage on Philly or Toronto would be my guess. But that will conclude the expansion talk and the dispersal talk. And just fingers crossed that Rochester finds a perfect owner, because I think, like you said perfectly, a second straight offseason of a team folding is not good for the league. It's not good for the health of the league. It's not good for anybody. But we'll move on. 2 report cards. Sit down in class because we're about to hand out some more report cards. Last week we had Vegas, Toronto, and Philly. We're working in reverse order. Today we will have Albany, Colorado, and Ottawa. We're working in reverse standings. We'll start with Albany. They finished 7-11. 11th in the standings, 192 goals for, which was 11th in the league at 10.67 a game, and 206 goals against, tied for 6th at 11.61. Phil, they started 2-8, and we're like, okay, what happened to this team? Like, why did they completely just fall apart? They finished 5-3 on a hot streak, but the season, they came back to earth. Last season, we saw them just skyrocket, and nobody had any film on a lot of these rookies, and they made it to the NLL finals and pushed the defending champs to the limit. And then this season it kind of fell down to earth. I guess, what were your thoughts on Albany's season before we hand out a grade and look at what Buffalo might have interest on their team?
Yeah, they did lose some close games for sure. They lost a couple OT, they lost a couple 1-goal games, but to me, I think exactly what you just said. I think everybody kind of figured this team out, and they regressed back to kind of where they should have been. The offense went from 206 goals to 192, and so losing about 15 goals doesn't sound like a ton, but it does when you're 7-11 and you lost a lot of 1-goal games. Those 15 goals spread out over the season could have meant the difference between out of playoffs and in playoffs. And then even their defense, they went from 191 against to 209 this year from last year. So again, that's a 20 goal swing. So in total, you're looking at about a 35 goal swing between the two seasons. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like you said, the league figuring them out. I think from a player by player standpoint, they did pretty well. They did pretty even from what they did last year. And I don't think they lost any talent by any means. I think they added more, and a lot of these players stepped up. And, I mean, Simmons had pretty much, he had 1 point less, so he had pretty much identical season. Kurtz went down by 10 points, but Walker went up by 10 points. Firth went up by about 10 points as well. So their offense was there. It was missing some pieces and whatnot, but it was there. And I think the defensive talent also with a couple of rookies that look really good. It's also there. Dyson Williams gets injected into this team. Will Johansson, one of your favorite players out there, is on this team. So to me, yes, they went backwards, but the future to them, for me, their future is still extremely bright. Even Jameson, he went from, an extremely elite season to a very good season. Not extremely elite, but still one of the best goaltenders in the entire league. Very close to an 80% save percentage, which is what we're looking for. So overall, I think the team went backwards, but is still absolutely primed to take that step back and still be probably the top half of the league moving forward for quite some time.
Yeah, I don't think they're as good as they were 2 years ago, and I don't think they're as bad as they started this last season. I think a lot of it plays into the fact that you're just coming back to the mean. I would figure, and just looking at it now and just taking a wild guess here before it's even July, I would put them in a 4 to 5 seed, maybe even a 6 seed next season. I think they're right in that area, depending on what other teams do. But, I mean, the offense, to me, took a step back. I think adding a Dyson Williams did help, but I think that means you're working on trying to figure out the offense. Okay, you're adding another superstar or a budding superstar, a future superstar. You saw as his season progressed, he kind of took over the clutch role. But it was really the defense that took a hit, and it wasn't due to the goal scoring. It was more due to the health. I mean, Chikowski, he missed 2 games. Watkinson missed 4. Volkov missed 7. Nishimura missed 12. Wagner, who was the clutch catalyst on the back end during their playoff run 2 seasons ago, he missed 15. So I think that not having consistent play in front of Doug Jamieson hurt him, and you saw a bit of it taking a step forward once those players were out of the lineup for a while and you got new players into it and were solidified back there. So I don't think they're as bad as they were last year, but I don't think they're as good as they were 2 seasons ago. So I think they're right in the middle there, and I think they will come back to the absolute mean this season. But I mean, they got no number 1 this year. That was sent to Las Vegas in the Justin Getty deal. We talked about that in the last show. They have no number 2 this year. That was sent to Saskatchewan in the Marshall Paulus deal in 2023. But their offense is pretty intact. I mean, Sam Firth is still on the team. Kyle Jackson, who they traded for in the middle of the season, he's there for 2 more years. Ethan Walker and Dyson Williams are there. So your whole left side of your offense is still there. The righties, Alex Simmons, Peshko, Kurtz, and Piatelli are all property, and I shouldn't say property. Their rights are still with the team. And
you love property.
I mean, Kurtz, Peshko, and Simmons, their rights are with the team. They're not RFA eligible, but Piatelli is, and I don't expect him to get any offer sheets whatsoever. But I fully expect their entire offense to come back. When you're looking at the defense, they're pretty much locked in. This is one of the few teams that actually has quite a few players locked up. And again, NLL, that pretty much means nothing besides UFAs. But they got Chikowski, Johansson, Koschak. Why can't I say? Thank you. The heat's going to my head. Mason. See, Nardella, Watkinson. They're all locked up for multiple years. I mean, they're really the only UFAs on this team that are of note is Ethan O'Connor, and then your practice squad guys, Ben McDonnell, Pilon, Rapuso. So I'm and even your goalies are locked up. Doug Jamison's got 2 more years. Andrew Kidd. So this team is built for the long haul, and I fully expect them to bounce back next season. But we gave them a C+. I think that's a very fair grade based on where they were and where they ended up. I think their hot stretch bumped that up. If they would have kept down the same stretch, even with the injuries, I don't think we could have given them any higher than D. But because of the hot stretch and because of what I think their future looks like, we bumped it up to a C+.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, their offense is pretty much locked together. I don't expect that to change. Maybe a depth piece. Maybe Piatelli goes out the door and somebody else comes in. Maybe Firth goes out the door and somebody else comes in. But their main core is going to be back and having their whole left side locked up already. That's already one thing taken care of. But looking towards the Buffalo Bandits and how they factor into this, I mean, when you don't have a bunch of UFAs, and I don't expect them to trade a bunch of these young players, it's tough to look at, okay, who would Buffalo have interest in? And this is what we talked about in the last show. Some of these guys are going to be higher names than other ones because we're basing it on these certain teams. Ben McDonald is 24 years old, 2023 first-round pick, 16th overall from Rochester. Only played in 3 games last year. He's been playing out the back door. 1 assist, 1 point, 14 loose balls, 2 caused turnovers. I think this is another piece that you bring in to training camp and see what he is. Can he fit into this? Again, a lot of this is unknown. CBA, free agency, a lot of stuff is up in the air right now, even Rochester. But I think this would be a nice piece. Being a UFA, being one of the few UFAs and being one of these players that could be got or Buffalo could go get, I think Ben McDonald would be a good piece to bring in and see what he's got because he is a former first-round overall pick just 2 seasons ago. I mean, you don't just lose all that talent overnight.
Yeah, I think we need a nonstop scrolling ticker on the bottom of all the things, all the stipulations that are currently happening, the CBA and Rochester being lost, and is Vince going to come back? So what does that mean for the Bandits if he does or doesn't? Are they going to go younger? Are they going to stick with the veterans, and what that means to everybody they're going after? We need just a really long scrolling ticker to explain why and how we're picking all of these players.
If this happens, it's because of this, and if this happens, it's because of this. And
this player
it's
looks
a web
good.
of
If
trees.
this happens,
it's when Charlie was down in the mailroom. What was he looking for? Oh, who's the name?
It's Always Sunny, for those who don't know.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
Reference. Jose Sylvia or something?
Yeah, I think that's it. I'll look it up. I'll keep looking it up.
That. Pete Sylvia? I don't know. But yeah, no, I do like Ben McDonald, like you said. A few of the last players we've kind of gone after are former first rounders, former high draft picks that are no longer possibly going to be with the team, like you said. Pepe Sylvia, there it is.
His name keeps coming up. Pepe Sylvia. Pepe Sylvia.
He's been looking for his mail for a month. But yeah, I think Ben McDonald, like you said, bring another camp body in. He could beat out some people. Again, a lot of it depends on which way the Bandits want to go, veteran or youth, but never hurts to add more people. And like you've said a few times, with the players that have made the roster that you didn't expect to coming out of camp, it's a chance for anybody to make a name for themselves in that situation. And especially coming from an Albany, it is a local team, so making the move to Buffalo wouldn't be a big deal either.
Yeah, and everybody that says, go get Willie Johansson, go get John Wagner, a lot of these players, why would Albany want to move these players? So you got to look at it from both aspects, where we're trying to look at it, how does this improve Buffalo, but also why would this player want to come to Buffalo, and why would that team want to trade this player to Buffalo? What is the incentive there? So that's what a lot of these are coming to. It's not like
ticker.
Yeah, that's why we're not going to just go get Alex Simmons. He would fit perfectly. Yeah, anybody would like Alex Simmons. That's why he's not leaving Albany. But before we move on to Colorado, oof, that one hurts, and Ottawa, that doesn't really hurt anybody because everybody saw that coming. We'll move on to our second and final sponsor of the show, Tap That Tap Room at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. It's Buffalo's first woman-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps. They offer a variety of beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages. Phil, I would absolutely love to be sitting on the patio with an open bev right now rather than this stuffy room talking to a microphone.
Well, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, then you're in luck, because this week's trivia night is bigger than usual. Tap That Tap Room teaming up with the Hugo Foundation. A $5 donation is suggested to play, and there will be a cash prize and Hugo Foundation merchandise given to the winning team. All donations made to the Hugo Foundation will go directly towards helping pets across Western New York afford life-saving veterinary care. It is a great reason to finally go. If you've never been to Wednesday trivia night and you've been on the edge about it, it sounds fun, maybe there's a time to go, this is it. Trivia starts at 7:30, and to keep the pup times rolling, don't forget about the adoption event happening on July 6th with 716 Paws Even if you're not there to adopt a dog, you can have some brews and hang out with some great animals. If you do want to adopt, make sure you are set up with pre-approval through 716 Paws. Their website has all the information. And to round out the events, we have the weekly staples of Thank You Thursday and Happy Hour Friday. For more information on those events and more, check out their Facebook page. And to find out what's on tap and what's on deck, go to tapthattaproom.com.
Because they have something.
For everyone.
Oh, I almost got him.
Animals.
Including animals.
Puppies, specifically, the next couple weeks.
Puppies galore. And what turned into puppies were the Colorado Mammoth. The bells tolled, midnight struck, and they turned into a pumpkin. I hate them. 8-10 on the season, 10th overall. 195 goals for, which was 10th in the league, 10.87. 212 goals against, 10th in the league, 11.78. Phil, they started 8-5. We went over the stats during our bold predictions review of the NLL. We kind of went, they would be, like 1/10 of a goal for behind Buffalo if all their players would have kept going, and if they would have kept averaging the average they did. They finished on a 5-game losing streak and missed the playoffs, so they finished 10-5, or I'm sorry, 8-10. Story of the season, Phil. Really, it was a bounce back to the mean. They weren't as bad as they were a couple years ago, but they weren't as hot as they were to start because the offense was looking fabulous. My prediction was on point. I won't get into that again because we did that a few episodes ago, but Zed got hurt. Who knows if he's going to be back in time for this season. I guess the one blessing is he got hurt earlier in the season, so if he is able to come back, it would be at some point this season. But McLaughlin left for work obligations, firefighter. I mean, priorities are where they need to be.
A lot of firefighters in the league.
A lot of firefighters. And then Connor Kelly missed games towards the end of the season as well. The back end needs help. I thought Ward ended up looking a lot better this season than he did a couple seasons ago, and I think a lot of that has to do with not a long playoff run. He got a little bit extra time in the off season between the PLL and the long runs they made to the finals. But I thought he looked good, but I really am questioning what they're going to do on that back end. And I guess what is your overall thoughts on how their season transpired as a whole?
Yeah, the offense definitely needed to be better, but it's like you've said a lot of times with this team, it's half difficult to complain about the offense when they had injuries and missing players, but it's also on management to get them replacements during the season, which they just felt like they just were treading water the whole year and very happy sitting this entire season kind of on the back burner once that got injured, once McLaughlin had to go due to work priorities, and I think they were just content running it with what they had, hoping for the best, and if it didn't work out, it didn't work out, and clearly it didn't work out. So the offense definitely needs to be better. Like you said, maybe Zed can come back. Maybe, I don't know what McLaughlin's up to for next season or his future career in the NLL, but if he comes back, obviously that's a huge missing piece right now. So if their offense can come back to what it was and everybody returns with the addition of Malcolm in the offseason, yes, he had a bit of a down year-ish. I wanted him to be better, but at the same time, his supporting cast around him, same thing, because they were missing, wasn't as great. So does he have a better season if Zed's there, if McLaughlin is there, if Kelly plays the whole season? So even though I want to complain a bit about Malcolm not being as elite as I would like him to be, he didn't have the supporting cast that he might have needed to push those numbers even further. So if their offense comes back, it could be okay, but that's a big if right now. Like you said, Zed's got to get healthy, and we don't know the future for McLaughlin. I thought the back end was okay. Ward definitely had a big bounce back season. The back end for them went from 226 goals against in 24 down to 212, so not bad. A little bit better. Like you said, Ward definitely looked better this season. I think the back end, to me, has some great pieces on it and a decent amount of them, but still needs to round out as a whole, and just they're still missing some pieces and some aspects of it. I did like Gillies, Hope, Jeffrey, Cook as a rookie. I thought he had a pretty solid season for a rookie. And then Down, I liked him and what he was able to do as well. So they definitely have some building blocks on defense, but they are going to need some more, and the offense needs to get better. But you still have a solid goaltender in Ward, and that is very, very big for any team.
Yeah, and they own their own fifth overall pick in this upcoming draft. They didn't have one last year, and that's how Brendan O'Neill ended up in Philly. They own Ottawa's second second round pick from the Paul Dawson trade, and remember that came from the Brent Noseworthy trade a few years ago with Buffalo, so it just got cycled over to Colorado. And they also own.
Thank you for Paul Dawson.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a trade you guys probably should have made this season. I still hate you. Halifax, second round pick from the Anthony Jochum trade in 2023. They also have a 4 list of draft list players that they can sign this season. None of them are really of note. Patrick McIntosh is the earliest one from last year's draft in the 3rd round, 42nd overall. The rest of them were 4th round or fewer. Under contract, Ryan Lee has 2 more years. He signed a 3-year deal last offseason. Will Malcolm's still there, 1-year deal. Eli McLaughlin has 1 year, but we don't really know what firefighter obligations he's going to have going into this one. You got Connor Kelly for 2 more years. What is his health going into the next season? Zed Williams is a UFA. You got Dan Taylor, who is on the practice squad. He's a UFA. Connor Robinson's got 1 year left with RFA status before he's a UFA. And then Thomas Vila, who I really liked, he's an RFA as well. So there's a lot of unknown and a lot of moving pieces on this offense, but the core is there if need be. The one good thing that they have is Ryan Lee looked like vintage Ryan Lee, and I think next year, another year on that knee, another year playing in that system, and not just system, but I mean playing healthy, I'm excited to see, and I think he could be in store for another MVP-type season and, looking for a point record race. So it's really the back end right now. They got 2 guys under contract right now on the back end. It's Brett Craig, who just signed a 1-year extension in this season, and then Ryan McLean, who didn't play at all this season. When you're looking at UFAs, I mean, there's a boatload of them. You got Damon Edwards, who comes over from New York/Ottawa in the offseason. Tim Edwards, you're going to be hearing him in a minute, and you heard about him all last offseason, so if you're sick of it, sorry. Jordan Gillies, Robert Hope. I know Robert Hope's probably not leaving Colorado. Don't hear what we're not saying. They have a plethora of talent on the back end that needs new deals. And you already mentioned Connor Cook, Owen Rand. It's those guys are not going to be leaving Colorado unless it is a trade. But it will be very interesting to see what type of shakeups they make on the back end, because I like their forward group and I like how their forwards look, and we saw it early in the season before players started going down and leaving the team that how good they could be, but it's really the back end. If you do not get the help on the back end, Dylan Ward's getting left out to dry multiple times last season. So I am interested to see what this team does this offseason on reshaping what their back end is, because while they were okay is not going to get you back on a long finals run. So, and Dylan Ward's 33. He's got 2 years left. You're only going to get vintage Dylan Ward for so many more years. You can't be wasting these years trying to rebuild a back end. It's got to be a quicker rebuild. And I guess the last name is, I will give him credit. They added TJ Camizio in season, but they didn't do anything to the forward group, which is what they really needed to do, right, because they were just decimated up there.
Camizio's good ad for their future, right, not necessarily for last year. I do feel bad missing Ryan Lee, just not really talking about him because his comeback was huge. His ability to miss the year, and the last few seasons he's been injured and come back, and then injured again and come back. Having a 95-point season, he definitely looked like the Ryan Lee of yesteryear, as it were.
He took over some games late, too. That one where they were trying to make a big comeback. I think it was Saskatchewan. He scored like 6 goals or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
He was vintage.
Like you said, it's another year that he's had a full season. That's really great for him on that knee. And I know 30 in football years looks really old, but 30 in NLL years is pretty much the prime of your career. So he's still in a very great situation, and I do like Ryan Lee quite a bit. So it's good to see him get back. He was one of the league's premier players and prove that he is still one of the league's premier players. And like you said, if he gets some support and a lot of those players come back, you could see him a year removed from injury take that next step and be one of the top point getters in the entire league. So that right there is huge for their team moving forward.
So we gave him a C-. That was honestly like a B+ to an A- before that whole string of injuries and they did nothing to fix it. But for Bandits aspects, again, we're always tying Bandits back into this one. This one doesn't need an asterisk. This one doesn't need anything. This is go get this guy, and you can just kind of listen back to what we said and what I said. I'll take credit for it and blame for it, whatever you want to call it. I'm the guy leading the bandwagon here. Tim Edwards, 32 years old, defenseman. He's a UFA this season. You don't even have to trade for him. Last year you had to trade for him. This year you don't even have to. 6 points last season, 82 loose balls, 9 caused turnovers, 7 block shots. But he's a face-off man. I want Buffalo to bring in competition for Connor Farrell. Yes, Connor Farrell is a great locker room guy. He's a fan favorite. Everything like that. But we saw too many times in this playoffs, and yes, he did get better in the actual finals. But leading up to it, if you're going to have a Fogo, we need better. And even if he beats out Tim Edwards is a useful defender back there. He's a depth piece on the back end. That's why I want somebody, if you're going to be a true Fogo, I need you to win 55 to 60% of your faceoffs. He was at 51, I believe, throughout the season. He was well below that during the playoffs. But again, it shows that faceoffs matter in certain situations, is what we've been saying for years and years and years. But I would like them to bring in some sort of competition for Connor Farrell. My best guess is if they were ever to do that, it would be another type of Fogo, a younger guy. We were talking about, I think it was Reese Barnes last season, where I believe it was Saskatchewan drafted him in like the second or third round, and we really wanted Buffalo to go after them with one of the first-round draft picks. But 42% in the faceoff dot, it's not great, but when you're not just a true Fogo, I'll live with 42% because even if you lose, you're not busting your butt right to the bench. You can help and get back on defense. So he is one of my dream go-gets this offseason. He was one of my dream go-gets last offseason, and I'm ready to be hurt again.
Yeah, there were a few rookie face-off men who had incredible seasons. Stathakis is one of them. Naso is one of them. They were up in the 60% range, and no offense to him, but that's better than what Farrell was doing. And that's the point, is if you're going to be a true Fogo, then you need to be up in the 59, 60, 61, 62% range. And if you're not going to be that, and you're going to be a little bit more of an average face-off guy, which is fine, but then you can't be a Fogo and be an average face-off guy. And Tim Edwards, yes, is he average on face-offs? Yeah, he's not going to be most likely up there in the 50s and 60s, but he can also play defense, like you mentioned, and be a
more value,
bigger part of this team. So I completely agree with Tim Edwards. I know he's getting a little bit up there in age for a defender, but not really at the same time. So I don't know. I would like them to bring in some kind of competition for Farrell, one way or another, whether it's UFA, whether it's draft, whether it's something, some kind of competition, not just let him have the job again because he had a decent playoffs.
Yeah, and I know me saying all this sounds stupid because they've had a Fogo for the last 4 seasons and they've won 3 of those 4 and went to a game 3 on the 4th one with Max Adler. I get all that, but this has been a dream of mine for 4 seasons covering this team now. Let me keep dreaming. I know it's probably not going to work, but I don't care. So Colorado, there's your report card. We expect better for next year. Ottawa, Jeff Teat, I am so sorry. When are you going to demand a trade? 8-10, 9th overall in the standings, 8.3 goals for, which was dead last. You have Jeff Teat in your dead last and scoring 10.17, 202 goals against, which was 4th in the league, 11.22. Phil, they started 4-2, then they lost 6 of 7 to follow, and then they finished 3-2 in the final 5. Whole moral of the story is I don't know. It sounds like Rich Lisk is out as GM. I think we didn't mention that on the last show. We were saying that there wasn't going to be any changes in the offseason from a lot of the front offices around the league. It sounds like Rich Lisk is out as GM. Whoever the GM has to do whatever you possibly can because it's only a few more seasons until Jeff Teat can be a UFA and not tagged. You can't be continuing to waste these seasons. And I'm harping on this, and there's a bigger story to be told about the season that they had, but it's so frustrating to see Jeff Teat in the league for 4 or 5 seasons now, and we have yet to see playoff Jeff Teat. It's a shame.
Yeah, I have a similar kind of thought on them. Their offense is horrible. They have Jeff Teat and not much else. They have some things.
They have a lot of secondary and tertiary players. They don't have a
Right.
partner to go with Jeff Teat.
No, and they don't have enough to go
Yeah.
with Jeff Teat is the biggest part of it. Without him, I mean, that's one of the things we've talked about in the last couple episodes, that without Dane and Josh on Buffalo, would they take a massive hit? Obviously. But are their secondary pieces good enough to
Right.
be A pieces? Yes. Like, their offense would still be good. Would it be as good? Obviously not. Josh and Dane are two of the best in the entire league right now. But this is one of the situations. You take Teat off this team, that offense, which is already last in the league, just plummets down to absolutely nothing. And again, those, like you said, they're good secondary pieces. Kiernan is a good secondary piece. O'Connor, who came back after missing the 5 games, and then T took off when he came back, is a good secondary piece. But none of them are good enough to be a true 1A, 1B, or even just like you said, like a true partner to Jeff Teat. He needs a lot more support up there, and that is the biggest issue with this team. Their goaltending got better. Their defense got a little bit better. That, to me, while it wasn't amazing, it was 4th in the league with goals against. So that's not the issue. Like, that's fine. That should be winning you games, and that should be doing enough to get you into playoffs, and it wasn't because the offense was so bad. And the fact, like you just said, that not only have you not seen a playoff Teat, but the fact that nobody's been able to find a way to get Teat help since he's been on the Riptide, now on Ottawa. Like, it's crazy to me that they haven't found a way to get him a better supporting cast.
Yeah, you already hammered home on the offense. No Dunbar the final stretch. I know they were 3-2 down the stretch, but that one still
PK's
bothers me.
not
I'm
happy.
not happy about it. I'm not going to rant about it because Ottawa, you do it to yourself. O'Connor, the Teat whisperer, missed 5 games. If you need Riley O'Connor to be in Jeff Teat's ear, what does that say about your whole offense that's dead last in scoring? Callum Jones, who I was very excited to see in his sophomore season, 9 games missed. And that just shows you how well built they are on the back end, because he missed half the season and they were 4th in goals against. They had a fabulous season on the back end. I think Brent Noseworthy is making that trade with Buffalo looked a little bit more silly than it did a couple of years ago when Buffalo made that deal. I mean, Higgins was amazing. He kind of tailed off in the middle of the season, but that's going to happen when you're standing on your head, having to win games with your team scoring less than 10 goals. New GM coming in more than likely. They need to win to keep Jeff Teat around. And he's not on social media. You're not going to hear these whispers. It's the NLL. It's going to be all kept behind closed doors. But if you're Jeff Teat, how are you not upset with the situation you're in right now? And the new GM who's coming in has very few pieces to work with when it comes to trade chips. They have no first-round pick. That's in Halifax because they traded for Halifax's 2023 first-rounder. They have no second. That belongs to Colorado, part of that 3-team deal between New York, Saskatchewan, and Buffalo. They own Panther City's second-round pick, but they're dissolved, so they have the last pick in the second round. They don't have any players on their draft list that are of note. Gavin Adler, he's 2023 4th-round pick, 54th overall. I mean, you're looking at the players under contract. Tagger Clark has 1 year left. Connor Kiernan has 2. Travis Longbow, who comes over, he's got 1 year. Larson Sundown's got 2. Their offense, as a whole, the UFAs are really the only ones of note are Riley O'Connor and Eric Fennell. You got Jeff Teat, who's the RFA, so if you're going to put an offer sheet on anybody, maybe it would be Jeff Teat. But, I mean, I don't see – they should be a team that's hot in the market for a lot of these UFAs in the forward group. You need to find a partner for Jeff Teat who's able to put up 80, 90, 100 points, because if not, you're just going to be waiting another season. But their back end, I love the back end in the goaltender department. Zach Higgins, who I talked about a lot last season, I don't expect him to be available whatsoever. He's locked into Ottawa. 1 year left on his current deal. On the back end, you got Kurtz, who I really liked in his rookie season. He's got LaFontaine, who we liked a couple off seasons ago. Mariner, Noseworthy, Stevens. They have a lot of good pieces. They're built very well. They're built sort of like Buffalo, where they have some veteran pieces and a lot of rookies mixed in, and I should say younger players mixed in. I really like their back end and their goaltender department. If they fix their forward group and bring in a couple new pieces that can pair with Jeff Teat, this team can easily make the playoffs. Like, I'm not saying that they're so far away from it. They're a few pieces away from getting into the dance. They're just always come up that much shorter each season long. And it's very frustrating. That's why we gave them a C+ on the season.
Yeah, and there are plenty of big, UFAs out there this offseason. I mean, we saw, Mitch Jones, Joe Rosatera from Philly. So there's talent that's going to be out there. Being able to win them over is going to be a little bit of a challenge. But at the same time,
I can run through some names real quick. You get Reza Terrace, you got Keegan Ball, who's likely not coming. Curtis Dixon, I don't see him coming. Robert Church. A lot of these guys are West Coasters, so it doesn't really help them. But, Brendan Bomberry, maybe that would help. Tom Schreiber, but I'm expecting him to go back to Toronto. Phil Caputo, maybe can swing Zed Williams. Maybe he wants to come over here to Ottawa. And then you're looking at the other side. Mitch Jones, he's probably going to go back to the West Coast. Jesse King. So as much as there is talent in the forward group, in the forward market, a lot of them are West Coasters. Are you able to convince them? Is Jeff Teat enough to convince them to come to the East Coast to play?
That's the thing. That's your biggest selling point, isn't the team or the location or anything like that. It's, do you want to play with one of the best in the world next to you? And that's a pretty good selling point. Not a lot of teams have Jeff Teat on it. There's one of them, so they need to make that their number one selling point. And for any offensive players they're trying to bring in, whether it's left side or right side, play right next to him or play across from him, you need to make that your reason to go to that team. And even like you said, their defense and goalie are there, so you're just an offensive away from being that much more competitive. But as it stands right now, not looking great.
So this is the first player today on today's show that we will talk about that Buffalo would likely have to trade for. And I think it's achievable. You have, we already mentioned it, Zach Higgins is locked up for one more year. He's solidified in there. He played all but 15 minutes this season. The guy that played the 15 minutes is Cam Dunkerley. He's 25 years old. He's an RFA. He had a 19.98 goals against average and a 62 save percentage. Don't look into that whatsoever. It's 15 minutes of action. That number is such a small sample size, it should be thrown out in the trash, which I'm going to do right now. But last year, or I should say 2 seasons ago, he was 8-10, 12.58 goals against, and a 75 save percentage. While those numbers are not eye-popping, he didn't have the same talent in front of him that Zach Higgins just did. Yes, there were pieces there that Zach Higgins did have, but they weren't playing at the same caliber that they were in front of Zach Higgins. Yes, Zach Higgins plays a big factor into it, but if Matt Vince does retire, I think Dunkerley and Orleman battle it out. The loser is the backup. I think that's a good scenario to have, that you have 2 younger goaltenders that both have brighter futures or potential brighter futures in net that you can build around. You don't need the superstar goaltender that is going to be able to replace Matt Vince. There's no replacing Matt Vince, but if you can bring in a Dunkerley, have him battle out with Orleman, I think that's a good competition in net, and then if one of them struggles, you can rely on the other one. Now, I'm not in love with it. Again, there's no replacing a Matt Vince, like we said, but you're gonna have to go shop elsewhere if Matt Vince doesn't come back, and I think Dunkerley is one of those players that is achievable. We kind of already went over it, and I'll look over at the eligible goaltenders right now. Christian Del Bianco's not leaving Vancouver. Nick Rose likely going back to Toronto. You're looking at Warren Hill. That's about it. Can you convince Warren Hill to come here? And do you even want a Warren Hill to play on this team? He's so up and down. So the goalie market's not there. You're going to have to go acquire one via trade if Matt Vince does retire. Hopefully not. But I think Cam Dunkerley is somebody that's actually achievable to come in here and compete with Steve Orleman for that goaltending position.
Yeah. Damoud from a previous team, still number one.
He's still
for
number
me.
one. Yeah.
You would need to swing something big, but I think for a team like you're saying, for either way, if Vince leaves, you need to bring in some kind of competition.
Yes.
Whatever it is, it can't just be Orleman's goal to just have. Like, I think you need to bring in competition for him. I don't think Konstantopoulos said
That's
that
pretty
wrong.
good.
I haven't
That's
seen
pretty
it.
good. That's pretty
good. Yeah. I don't think he's ready. He's still extremely young. I just don't think he's ready to be true NLL competition for Orleman. So I think you'd have to bring in another veteran to compete for it. And Dunkerley, for a team that has very few draft picks and needs to build their team, he'd be one that would be, like you said, I think very achievable in my eyes, that you could get a Dunkerley to Buffalo and then, like you said, have them battle it out from there.
So that rounds out Ottawa. That rounds out our report cards for this week. We went over Albany. we went over Colorado, and we just went over Ottawa. If you want to look at the report cards for Las Vegas, Toronto, and Philly, go listen to last week's show. But we'll close this one out, and we'll dive into 3 more report cards next week. But real quick, super quick, I don't really want to talk about them too much, but the NHL draft is Thursday. Sabres have the 9th overall pick. J.J. Peterka and Bo Byram have been on the trade market. It sounds like J.J. doesn't want to play here. And I know Kevin Adams already said, oh, you can't believe everything you've been told. They have had 0 conversations about buying out Matthias Samuelsson. It's a cluster you-know-what down at Saberland right now. They had the same situation where people were asking him questions, and you couldn't hear the questions. You could only hear the answers in the press conference. Press conference was another embarrassment, but super quick. Again, I don't want to talk about the Sabres too much. We're still having discussions on what to do with the Sabres this coming season. But we're both on team trade for now talent for the 9th overall pick. I don't care what you get, just somebody that plays in the NHL.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sick of prospects. I'm sick of them saying they're the youngest team in the NHL. I'm sick of missing playoffs. That will conclude the Sabres.
Of getting rid of prospects that are good because they don't want to play here. Which I don't
wonder
blame
why.
Them
I wonder what.
I would say do not blame them for wanting to get out, but. Man, once the whispers of Thompson and Dahlin wanting to get out,
it's going to come.
Ever surface, it's going to happen at some point.
February.
And when it does, this team will implode.
February's
as if it hasn't already.
If Sabres if they're not in a playoff spot by February, there's going to be whispers. There's going to be conversations. You've already heard those whispers, and I know Dahlin came out and flat denied it. But where there's smoke, there's always fire. And it's not just a brush fire. It will be an inferno. It's going to be real bad in Saberland, worse than we've seen.
How do you look at your teammates that are going to playoffs, going to Stanley Cups, winning Stanley Cups, that were all just on your team, and you still can't make playoffs? Like, how do you look at them and be like, oh, I don't want that. I want
the bigger thing is
here.
How do you listen to your GM's press conference and take him seriously? Because the rest of the league doesn't. And I can only blame Kevin Adams so long because he's not a GM. He shouldn't be in that position. Like, he's a laughing stock in the league. It's just okay. That's enough. I'm not ranting anymore.
Frustrated.
But Phil, anything else with this episode before we shut it down for another week and get more report cards handed out next week and see who we can get in trouble that time?
If it's Wednesday, go trivia. Go support the Hugo Foundation and pets. And if you're not going to do that, that's cool. And stay cool. Get a pool. Stay cool. Whatever you got to do out there, it's hot.
That's not bad. Stay cool. Get a pool. I might get a pool up here. I might be sitting in a pool next week.
There you go. With some
that
floaties.
Might be a smart idea. Little floaties because I can't swim. The only other thing, because it's going to be super quick, I promise. How did you do in school? Like, were you good grades, bad grades, okay grades? Like, were you afraid to show your parents grades?
No, I was on a roll, but I was the lowest best you could be. I was always floating right around the 91, 92, 93. Not an extreme amount of effort, but enough to have good grades.
Okay. I was the exact opposite. I saw today, and I don't know why it didn't click in, they don't actually hand out report cards anymore, like, for your parents to sign anymore. It's all online.
Yes.
I would be in so much trouble. Like, my parents don't listen to this, but the amount of times that I got away with bad grades, it's unbelievable. The worst trouble I ever got in, and quick story, I junior year, I had chemistry, and I needed to pass chemistry to be done with science my entire life. I didn't have to do science anymore. But I was failing. Like, I had a certain point. I think it was maybe like a 70 or something like that in chemistry. And the final was like 1/5 of your grade. And I did the math on what I needed on the final to still pass chemistry. And I think it was like a 32. I needed to score a 32 on my final chemistry exam. And I'm shooting hoops in the driveway, and my dad pulls up and he goes, "Got something to tell me?" It's like, "What?" And he goes, "Your chemistry exam. You didn't do so hot." I was like, "Yeah, but what did I get?" He goes, "Well, you failed it." I was like, "Yeah, but what did I get?" He goes, "What does it matter? You failed it." I was like, "What did I get?" He goes, "A 56. I was like, "Yes!" He goes, "Why are you cheering?" I was like, "I just needed a 32 to pass chemistry." So, yeah, I would be in so much trouble because that's just one small aspect of something that my parents found out about my grades. If this was like the whole parent portal, I feel bad.
Yeah.
If there's any kids listening out there, you have no idea Like, it was so much easier, and I sound like the old guy sitting on the stoop right now. It was so much easier to get away with stuff back when I was in high school because it was still physical copies. They didn't have your parents' email. They didn't have your phone number. They didn't have online portals. It was all, okay, have your parents sign this and bring it back. I don't know what happened to it. And then you got another week, and then eventually the teacher forgot about it. But you guys got parent portals, so I'm not being a bad influence whatsoever. But we'll be back next week for 3 more report cards. Maybe the Sabres will do something. Who cares if they do? Training camp's around the door. So, yep, have a fun week and be cool. Get a pool. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room and Phrase Flowers for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Check out our store on our link tree on our socials or at the shop tab at the top of the website. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Maybe we'll have something else to tease next week because something's coming up. Until next time, bye-bye.